What's good, LL Nation? You already know what it is. For the Culture Friday, right here, Lucky Lefty Podcast. I'm your boy, Shaun Davis at SD2 Mics, brought to you by Onora Whiskey. OnoraWhiskey.com. It is that premium American whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. And if you're going to drink, by all means, make sure that you do so responsibly. Left is on daddy duty, handling some things. He'll be hopping in shortly. Great Friday, great conversation. We're going to talk about the offensive line coach situation as the search continues for the next offensive line coach to replace the legend that is Harry Hiestand at Notre Dame. But let me ask you a question. I thought about this. No, we're not about to spend any of our time, right here on the home of the misguided passion. We're not spending any of our valuable time on this Friday discussing what Jack Swarbrick had to say yesterday. No, we're done with that. No need to. Now, with everything, this is the LL question of the day, because I want you guys to help me co-host until Left jumps in. LL question of the day. And really, if you can, lay your fandom to the side and try to be as objective as you can. Can you do that for me? Can we end the week that way? Help me out. The events of the past week and a half. Do you think they've made coaching positions at Notre Dame less attractive? Notice I did not say unattractive. I said, do you think they have made the coaching positions at Notre Dame less attractive? So let's be objective today, because I can go on either side here. I really can. I can go on either side here when I really thought about it. With everything that's happened, and in the midst of the search, that was the one thing that struck me about, the interview that came out yesterday. It's just, why haven't we pulled the plug on this? Like, I really just, I don't know. And that's why I'm asking the fan base. Do you feel like everything that has taken place has made coaching positions at Notre Dame less attractive? Let's start tallying it up. Let's see what everybody thinks, man. Omar Wap, thank you. Yeah, Jack trying to make be Irish a thing, apparently. Said it at the end of his interview with Lou Nanny yesterday, shaking my head. Post game, thanks for tapping in. He says, or they say absolutely. Drunk Vigo, our guy. Yes. Jason Hewlett. Yes. Marvin Bell, thanks for tapping in. Yes. Morio, Invictus, 100%. Gino, 100%. David Flores, 100%. Jason Hewlett, we look weak. Derek Jankart, thank you, Derek. Yes, who wants to work for Jack Swarbrick? Coach Vic, we thank you as always. Coach Vic says no. And Joseph Conati, he says incompetence is less attractive. So absolutely. Let's see. Fender Bender, of course, is less attractive. Swarbrick is a cancer at Notre Dame. Well, considering cancer strong, especially considering with one of our own, Jay Mickey's mom is dealing with right now. Let's try not to make that connection to Jack Swarbrick. But I understand what you're trying to say, Fender Bender. Uh, Andre Neely, that's a good point. Coordinators want to bring their guys in. Josh Buffo, a motivational business banker, says, hell yeah. Look, I just, and I say that because we could talk about it, right? The latest news is that Matt Luke, who came and interviewed and brought his family, and they toured the city of South Bend and the facilities, and he's decided to stay retired. And I don't know if that's a big swing or miss. I think that's taking a swing at someone um, that was a long shot in the beginning. And when it's a long shot, I don't really feel like that's a big late letdown, right? It's like, okay, if we can grab him, fine. But ultimately, we already know he left the game for a reason. That's still the same. And if he decides to come back, it's because it's us, right? And the fact that he took the interview, came to South Bend and brought his family says a lot. It does say a lot about the brand of Notre Dame football. It says a hell of a lot, in my opinion. The counter to that, right? The counter to that would be, man, what's wrong? What's wrong? Because now this is where we take a step back and we take them at their word. According to you, Colin Klein said, no, I'll stay at Kansas State. According to them, Andy Ludwig said, no, I'll stay in Utah. Matt Luke comes in. It's a long shot. He chooses to stay retired. Okay. And from reports, the next two options are Joe Rudolph of Virginia Tech and AJ Blazik of Vanderbilt. Now, Blazik and what he's done with under Clark Lee of Vanderbilt is pretty good. A lot of the increase in rushing yards is because they have a mobile quarterback in that system. Even though, their running backs, two of them averaged over 4 yards per carry. Um, Joe Rudolph, eh. So, we go from Matt Luke, who I think is tier one, and now we go to the two names that are being mentioned. And I'll speak for myself. It's sort of a letdown. Like, those are the names we're going after. Um, it's just shocking. And it made me wonder, LL Nation. I honestly started to think, man, has the brand just kind of been tarnished a little bit by what's going on or what's transpired? And if that's the case, um, we just might be in a season where you have to roll with what you roll with. I mean, many of you have been out there, right? Whether you know you're in your early 20s, fresh out of college, and you just got your own spot. And you're really learning how to pay bills, right? Right. You just bought that house, and they make you feel good at the closing because they tell you, well, the or it's the same thing with you buy a car, right? You buy the car and they tell you, well, if you bought it on January the 28th, or January the 15th, your first payment won't be until March the 15th, right? So you feel real good. You're like, oh man, I have a car. I almost have 2 months before I have to make a payment. And it gives you this feeling, but the payment is still coming. Like time isn't stopping. There's no hit pause on what's transpired. And unfortunately, I wish that the fan base could have hit pause, right? Because it seems like the administration wants to keep this thing in the limelight. I really wish we had the power to hit pause on everything that was happening when we realized it was becoming detrimental, regardless of what side of the coin you fell on. Like, all right, it's not a good look, right? It's not a good look. and you have all of college football watching this. Like you have possible candidates watching this, right? And you're just thinking to yourself, like, what have we really done? What have we really done to ourselves and to the opportunity to be able to attract the best of the best? I told you Malik was out in Arizona. I had other people that I have connections with that were out in Arizona during the Super Bowl, and Notre Dame was a topic during Super Bowl week. They were a topic. What was going to happen? People looking forward to seeing, who Notre Dame was going to grab as the offensive line, not the offensive line coach, but the next offensive coordinator to replace Tommy Rees. And unfortunately, as pleased as I am, I think pleased is probably the best word to use. As pleased as I am to have the combination of Jared Parker and Gino Gaduli, because of the investment that I see in the future of the quarterback position at Notre Dame, I'm cool with that. I'm pleased with some of the things, or most of the things that Jared Parker said at his introductory press conference. I'm pleased with that. But then I take a step back and I look at the process, and it seems like a process that should have been smooth. You know, the butter that sat on your grandmother's dinner table, and, and it was strictly for bread spreading, right? So it was just, man, you just cut into it and it was smooth and it just went on. And this is Notre Dame, right? This is Notre Dame. The process should have been smooth, right? We're trying to find coaches. The process should be extremely smooth. It should just be smooth. We're Notre Dame. It should be a smooth process, right? And the process to find, we should have offensive line coaches just banging on the door to take Harry Heastand's place, right? To walk in his shoes, right? To build a resume on the back of the history of offensive linemen at Notre Dame. And it just doesn't seem like it's going smoothly. Mm. Just my opinion. I gave you the other side objectively, as far as the brand still being strong, having enough strength to pull Matt Luke out of his lazy boy in his man cave, getting him on a plane, coming to South Bend, important enough to bring his entire family. The man brought his entire family. They toured schools. They looked at homes and neighborhoods. That's pretty serious. But he said no. He went through all of that only to decide, nah. It's almost like dating someone, thinking you're on the same page. You go pick out a ring. You get on one knee. You open the box, and she tells you no. And you're just like, what's wrong? I mean, I thought we were good. I thought we were on the same page. No. It objectively, I'm just at a place where I'm just confused. You're right, Coach Vic. Very reminiscent of Michael B. Jordan and Lori Harvey. Very reminiscent. Gary Newsom. Thank you, my man. You know, maybe do people view it that way? Karen says, why would you jump on the Titanic as it's sinking? And I don't know if I would call it the Titanic, because I do think there's promise for this 2023 season. I still very much believe in Marcus Freeman and his vision. But man, the vibe right now, like we need a couple of commits, right? We need a couple of young men to commit to get the vibe going, right? We need a couple of 24 kids to come in March and April and like, yo, I'm locked in. Because right now, honestly, the vibe is off. The vibe is off. And this dead period is making it worse, Irish fans. It's making it so much worse. Because at this point, I don't know if there's a home run hire out there that's really going to get everyone excited. Good hire? Yes. Solid hire? Yes. Successful hire? Absolutely. But to get the juices flowing, like the juices were flowing when Tommy left, a lot of people, man, tons of people in the fan base were excited about his replacement. There was juice. Left, welcome to the conversation. Um, Having an objective conversation about the vibe around the program right now, the old line search. Matt Luke left. He was in his lazy boy in his man cave. Retired. Left Georgia. Did it for his family. Right? He had kids that were getting ready to go into the teenage years and be very involved with sports, and he wanted to be there. But somehow, some way, the lore, the conversation with Marcus Freeman and the brand of Notre Dame got him to get on a plane, come to South Bend, serious enough to bring his family with him so he could get their feedback. They tour schools, they go see homes and neighborhoods, and ultimately he says no, Left. I feel like Notre Dame got on one knee with a ring and he said no. And I asked the question today, like, Left, do you feel like the events of the past week and a half have kind of l- made the coaching jobs at Notre Dame less attractive? Not unattractive, because it's still Notre Dame, but less attractive to candidates because of the way things have gone down.
I mean, if we got Utah calling us a minor league program, we're in trouble. So I think that what is taking place has only exposed us for the cheapos we have portrayed ourselves to be, and the way that they've handled Marcus Freeman, especially Marcus Freeman is a good guy. So when you're watching a good guy in college football that a lot of people root for get done the way he's getting done, and people are seeing through the facade of the cover up of what is taking place, and you can't, it's like you can only do so much. Karma's still a thing, and it just, like you said, made it less attractive. It makes it look like they got a lot of complicated issues over there, and it fits a lot of the narratives that people have talked about Notre Dame before. um so I don't blame, like you said earlier, I don't think there's a fire starter hire out there right now. There's a lot of guys that can get the job done at this point, but the window is missed for us to get that impact coach, that impact uh, piece of the staff that we needed. And we've seen a lot of turnover. Tommy left, Heaston retired. Um, you got James Laurinaitis leaving. So when you got a lot leaving and you're not replacing a lot,
Hmm.
as soon as you would expect, it does give an interesting look as to what's going on at the program.
Man, I definitely feel the same way. And that's why I objectively wanted to sit my fandom down and really, let the fan base speak. And it's pretty much been pretty one-sided. As far as yes, a lot of fans do feel like things have become less attractive due to what has transpired. But objectively, I can still understand people saying, "Yo, we're still Notre Dame. We still got Matt Luke to get up out of his seat and hop on a plane." You know,
Yeah, but just I think even when we talked about Saban bringing Tommy down there, me and you both knew that when Tommy got down there, he wasn't leaving Tuscaloosa.
oh, it was a wrap. Yeah,
You
once
know,
he got the
yeah,
plane, it was a wrap. That's
guys,
that's the way it should be. That's the way it
guys,
should be.
that's the way it should be. Guys get
Yeah,
to Notre Dame and have great visits and take pictures and all type of fun stuff, like it's a night at the museum. And they're not putting in the exact uh, guarantee that we would have loved to have. So, closing the deal is something is bigger than Marcus Freeman. If Marcus Freeman bringing somebody to campus, that's
yeah,
supposed to be a done deal, an honor to get on Notre Dame's campus to get the type of attention to be an assistant coach or whatever have you. But there's definitely something in the administration because I don't believe it's Marcus Freeman once he gets to that point.
yeah, yeah. You know, I can see it both ways, man. I can definitely see it both ways. You know, oh, this is a great name. Thank you to Shaquille Oatmeal. I like that. Shaquille Oatmeal. I love that name. When you go after a retired coach that wants to be with family and gives great importance to their opinion, there's a high probability of this happening. We have to take that into account.
Yeah, we definitely brought in a guy that was on the older side of 50, and it fits what the Notre Dame makeup looks like. But we wasn't getting a spring chicken either. If anything, he probably had a couple years left if he's getting off the couch. So I do think that it's important that
Well,
we figure out.
he's only 46 left. He's 46.
Oh, okay, but still, I mean, we're pushing. We should start thinking: are we going to get younger like Marcus Freeman? I think when you think of guys on the staff right now, a Chancey Stuckey, a Mike Mickens, Dean and McCullough, guys that Al Washington, guys that are young, that are involved in the thick of the college football game, guys that's going to take those trips and travel to see these recruits. Marcus Freeman might think younger. There's nothing wrong with getting a younger staff. That seems to be the wave anyway. So maybe a younger staff in that direction could really work out.
Yeah, Lucky Lefty podcast. And even moving, because I think some people getting caught up in the Matt Luke situation. It's not about that. It's about having someone at tier one and then the other two names being reported being maybe tier two. That's the issue. Like you
And
would
having
think,
having an in-house hire for your OC right when you were at the peak of trying to get somebody to knock it out the park, it's just a bad taste. It's like,
mhm,
really? That's what you
yeah,
came down to? Really?
yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't
It's
make it
just
look like a elite program.
yeah, and it's momentary, right? But one could say what transpired was a bad look. I think most people agreed that it was a bad look. And it's just interesting because you start to think, man, is it impacting the search? Do you have candidates that normally would be knocking down the door or contacting Notre Dame now saying, you know what, it's all good? It's like,
I
don't
mean,
get confused. We're not caught up on Matt Luke. Like, oh, we got to have Matt Luke. Like, no, we admit the brand is strong enough to get him out of the house and to campus.
offensively, the last 2 years we have had in-house hires.
But it
Tom
goes,
in-house
yes,
hire.
yes.
Jared Parker's an in-house hire. That's maybe why it's a bad look. Because neither time did we have the possibility to hire outside the goo offensively.
It makes me wonder.
Even the head coach is an in-house hire.
I guess, yeah, I guess you're right. He was promoted. I guess you're right. And maybe that's the comfort level for the administration to be able to hire people from in-house,
If
right?
we hired in-house like that, we hired key positions in-house. Maybe that puts a red flag up for coaches not in-house. Where they're like, are they going to even take me seriously, or are they just bringing me in to taste the good cafeteria food?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
We should stop looking like the good old boys club. I think that's what it turned into. We look like a club that's like, if you're one of us, we'll hire you. But if you're not, you're a long shot. And even if you're one of us, we still might not hire you. AKA Tony or something.
Man, Mike Huff has an interesting comment. Thank you, Mike. It says Marcus shooting for the stars, not realizing Jack and company don't do that. That's what has happened here. You know, Lucky
In
Lefty
his letter,
podcast.
that winning that championship was third behind being a good steward and raising the Notre Dame brand. So
It
if it
was
if it's
it
on you,
was number three. You're right. It was number three. It should have
if
been
it's
number
third on
one.
you,
It should have been number one, but it was number three.
so if you thinking of you winning the championship in the third back part of your mind, you got a lot of things that's going to be obstacles for you on the process of getting there. If that's the case,
Let me ask you a question, Left, because you were there. Lucky Lefty podcast. We talk about improvements. And one of the big things that Notre Dame has always stuck to from its traditions is that the players live amongst the student population. When we talk about building an athletic facility that most big time programs have, that is strictly the athletic facility for the team to come, study hall, personal chef, not just the football team, all athletic teams, training tables, to be taken care of medically. This is something that's pretty standard at your big time programs. That would kind of go against the culture that Notre Dame traditionally has always wanted with the student population and its athletes. My question to you is it needed? See, because is it time for Notre Dame to move away from tradition or to gain a different point of view of tradition in 2023?
man, you do that, man. I think it just changes the makeup of what Notre Dame has been holding on to for so
Mm,
long. You would have to just change the dynamic of the school in that case. And but it's weird. It's like they have built the face up so much of what Notre Dame is perceived to be, but then it's like rules for you is not rules for all. If you got enough cash, you living off campus.
hmm
They built them nice condominiums more than just
No,
for
well,
fans.
wait. Now, I want you to get clarity on what I said. I didn't say dorms to live in. I said an athletic building to be able to come to eat, have a training aid table, personal shelf, come and meet with the doctors, not just the football team, all athletics at Notre Dame. Something that is for athletics, which is standard. We're not talking about building like something that's just over the top. This is standard. Heck, the University of Illinois, man, the University of Illinois building, dude, it was incredible when I was there, and that was years ago. I can only imagine what it looks like now. We're not even talking about SEC money and how much they invest. We're just talking about Big Ten. Big Ten. It's there at Michigan. It's there at Michigan State, Ohio State. It's basics. It's the basics. And you can talk about, man, nobody cares. Dude, you want to live in the dorms? Keep that fine. Fine. But athletes want to feel like they're being treated as athletes. Look, let me tell people something. I don't care how many classes you take. I don't care where you sleep on the campus. Football players know they're football players on campus.
That's right.
Football players do not equate themselves as regular students. And maybe you all want them to feel that way. They know exactly the star quarterback of a football team knows what he brings to that school financially. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. So we
Yeah,
want to hold we want to
but
hold on to tradition and amateurism and all this stuff. Man, look, it's cap. It's always been cap. Athletes have always known and fought for the right to get value because they knew they had value to the school. Like, come on, man. Like,
man, you got to think of like Notre Dame as a big operation where it's about business. It's about that bottom line. So when everybody at that school is paying a big bottom line,
yeah,
there's a lot of different things that take place where it's like, all right, we got rules, but if this bag is big enough, I'm gonna look the other way. So there's a lot of things where it's like, yeah, the star quarterback may be bringing in X
hmm,
amount of dollars a year, but we got the CEO of Air and they kids, the
facts,
CEO, the CEO of Water Drops or something,
facts, facts,
and they bringing in a hefty penny too.
facts.
So I can't really distinguish the difference. We're gonna have nice facilities, but we're gonna let everybody come to them. That's why the cafeteria is top notch.
Well,
Because
like I said, look, man, look,
everybody,
that's cool. That's cool. But when these high schoolers come on their visit and they
see
come
they,
from
they
and
don't they
they
don't
come
they
and,
don't understand. They don't understand the dynamic. You
I
know,
understand they don't understand the dynamic, but I
you go to
understand.
Ohio State, yeah, you King Poobah because you bringing in that check.
We're keeping it a buck, dude. You know how it was. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't. I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth. It's for the
Look,
culture
okay,
Friday.
okay,
We
okay.
spin it different. Let me throw it to you like this, right? Back in the day, it was these twins that I went to high school with, right? They were real smooth, some pretty
Yeah,
dudes. They some pretty dudes, right? And they would always talk to the young ladies in the school who came from money, right? And we would always see them walking around with new starter jackets, new starter hats, a new pair of jabots, a nice jabot outfit. Back then, it wasn't really about the YSL belt. Back then, it was about the coach belt and making sure you had the coach tag hanging off the belt. Somebody in the chat knows what I'm talking about right
yo,
there.
those are the times. Those are the
Those are
times.
the times. You know what I'm
Those are the
saying? That's when dudes had the little coach zip portfolio that you put in your back pocket. You had the coach tag hanging out the back pocket. You know what I'm talking about, left.
yeah.
So they dated with purpose. You understand?
Purpose. That's right.
Most of these 5-star kids, when they go out and they go on these recruiting trips, they're dating for with purpose, bro.
They dating
They're
for a
date they're dating with purpose, right? And we can sit here and talk about getting 5-star talent at Notre Dame all we want to. You have to understand with 5-star talent what they want. They're dating with purpose, bro. Right? And small things matter. Small things matter. So once again, it goes back to not really supplying ammunition or giving your head coach, the ammunition it takes to truly go head to head.
yeah.
I'm not sitting here saying,
It's it's it's
you
it's,
know,
it's like we sending Marcus Freeman to school with the K Swiss all whites, not the Nike Air Force all whites, not the ones that you get for $100. They say, you know
hmm,
what? I know you want the Air Forces like all the cool kids, because that's
hmm,
how you get the girls.
hmm.
But what if we went to school with the K Swiss? because they look the same. They all white too. They just like the all white forces. But they K-Swiss. Notre Dame is K-Swiss to the world. We got the same designs. They all whites, but the logo is not the same. When the girls see you and you got the K-Swiss on next to the forces, you know whose number she's getting. Marcus Freeman can't get these recruits with K-Swiss on. He need the brand. Yeah, he got the grades. He's smart. He funny. He looked like Will Smith. He got the charismatic stuff. But when you get in the girl, you gotta have some material swag too.
And it shouldn't be like that.
And it
right? It shouldn't be like that. It should be about who you are as a person.
Who you are as a person.
But unfortunately, in life and recruiting, that ain't the way it is. It's not the way it is. It's not the way it is.
Marcus Freeman, if it wasn't about that, Marcus Freeman would have had the prettiest girl.
Dude, if it was left up to the mothers of all recruits, Notre Dame would have 5 stars up and down the roster.
Up and down all day. Unfortunately, you got to come with something else. Back in the day, if this was traditional, man, Marcus Freeman would have had them left and right. Left and right. Right. Now they see them the Birkin bags dropping. they done seen the Baccarat smells coming out. They said, "Oh, the price today." But they said the price yesterday is not today's price.
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
Notre Dame trying to win off of the pager. The pager's over. You gotta get you an iPhone.
Right, dude.
Marcus Freeman smooth, but you can't win with the pen and the pad. You gotta have it.
Dude, you know how the game goes. If you're working off a pager, dude, you're not calling from the house. Come on, man. You're the worst hustler in the world. If you calling from the house with the pager,
man, he outdated.
In order to rock the pager as a hustler, you need a payphone.
You need a payphone.
And payphones don't exist anymore. Go find me a payphone. Go find me a phone booth on the corner. Please take a picture and send it to me. Yeah. Please.
Yeah, we hustling backwards. We're not giving my man a chance to go out there and succeed. Get him some new forces.
Oh, man.
Come on now. Marcus Freeman should be rolling around, not in a Suburban. Maybe one of them LeBron trucks, them Hummer trucks, you know. just to let people know we up to date. I mean, good grief. Man.
I love tradition. I come from a traditional family, dude, that has traditional values. It's about family and passing down those traditions.
That's right.
You know, especially from a ministry standpoint, like I'm all for tradition, bro. But my dad does not expect me to teach the same way he teaches.
That's right.
And if God's plan is for my seed to follow in my footsteps, I don't expect them to teach and have the same ministry that I have. Because they're going after a totally different group of sheep than me.
Different group of sheep.
Totally different group of sheep.
It's like when your grandma wants to give you $20 and she thinks that's a lot. When $20 can't get you a full meal at Shake Shack. For real.
The bait
to her is a lot.
The bait you use on the bank is not the bait you use on the boat.
That's right.
The bait you put on the hook, standing on the bank, is totally different than the bait you put on the hook out there on the boat in the middle of the water.
That's right. And that's where we're going wrong.
So, for clarity, no one is questioning or asking tradition to go away. Man, can we get an update Like, even my iPhone gets an update every now and then. Can I get a software update? Can I get some improvements?
Because it's like the
Can I,
reluctancy. That's what be killing us. It's the
can,
reluctancy. You
can
see
I get
everybody,
something to fix the bugs? Can we
yeah,
stop having the bugs like the last week and a half? Can we stop that from popping up? Can we get a software update to just stop that type of stuff? Can we? Can we? Forget athletic facilities to make the program look better. I don't even go that far. Can we just fix the bugs that exist now?
that's right.
Can we get a software update?
Can we get
That's
the new
it.
car? We had the same car. You keep gluing the door handle back, gluing the door handle back. Just get a new car. It's all right. We still gonna get from A to B. Just get a new one. Just get a new one, man. I mean, it's crazy because we spending money on building everything on campus. Don't even look like the same campus when I was there. They putting up new dorms, put a new indoor facility, got all these buildings across campus on Eddy Street, on campus for new academic centers.
That's all I'm saying, bro.
When they come to updating in the Google, we updated the Google, but in the Google, see what
Bro,
man.
I worked my sophomore year. I actually worked with the basketball team. So I got to eat with the squad.
Mm.
I ate better than the students, bro. This is I ate better than the students.
That's right.
I would be willing to bet that the University of Illinois invests in their football players more than Notre Dame was
Mm-hmm.
or does. I'm talking about from having a personal chef, just things that just wait on hand and foot. Oh man, I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
If Notre Dame could, they'll probably if Notre Dame could, they'll probably try to convince us to get a side job.
And everybody's caught up in sensibility and tradition. And I don't care where the players lay their heads. I don't care. Keep them in the dorms with the student population. But for Christ, no, let me stop there. For Pete's sake,
For Jack's sake.
please come into the age of big time programs having a personal chef for their football program. Are we haggling over a personal chef? Oh, we don't want to have a personal chef strictly for the athletes because that will elevate them above the student population. Man, what are we talking about? That's foolishness, man. It would mess with our traditions.
It would mess with the money because don't let them big pocket spenders that are regular students find out
Exactly.
there's better food on campus
Exactly.
they don't have no access to. You that's the problem. You can't tell the Notre Dame student they don't have access to something the football team do that they don't. Period.
Dude.
You don't know how many times I had to fight with the indoor before we had the indoor stadium. How many fights I had during the spring because they wouldn't let me get on the field to work out with the receivers because it was intramural soccer going on. It was
Wait a minute.
intramural.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. This is for the Culture Friday. You are not allowed to come on for the Culture Friday and cap. You mean to tell me that the starting quarterback in Notre Dame wanted to get on the field with his receivers to practice and get reps?
Can't do it. They got
They told
stuff going on. They got intramural stuff good. They got slots. Oh, at 7, no, you can't. No. I'm like, can I throw to the side? No. We need the whole field. For intramural soccer?
for tradition. For tradition.
They can't tell them kids no. Because they don't want that phone call. I'm paying what? And they can't do what? When? No, we gotta fix that. we gotta fix that. They play. I don't care. They play football. I'll pay too. Come on now.
Oh, man.
You at Illinois. You know the football program is important. Them student call up there. Hey, I heard they got personal chefs over there for the football team. Yeah, what about it?
Man, they had everything in
Yeah,
Illinois.
what about it?
Personal assistants, personal chefs, personal bankers. Like they-
For
yo,
real.
man, look, and I'll keep it a buck. Man, look, I had a friend, a childhood friend, that was on the basketball team. Childhood friend, bro. There was not a time that I could not walk up to him and say, yo, let me hold something. And there was not one time. And I asked him maybe like 2 or 3 times my entire time. Not.
Yeah. Yeah, when you got that bag, it's different. Because you got to think. They're choosing this, they're
So,
choosing,
bro, I knew
to go with tradition. These people could go anywhere in the world for school with nicer
anywhere.
dorms, nicer amenities. They're paying a bunch of money to sleep in a little dorm. This is an experience. This isn't school. This is an experience.
I'll keep it a buck left. I actually think being part of students, I actually think that's I actually think that's dope. I
It
do.
is.
I
It
actually
is.
think that's dope.
But how they get you though?
So I'm not talking
It's
about
the
the
amenities.
dorms though.
It's the amenities. Because then yeah, you get the tradition.
Hmm.
That tradition isn't updated from a material sense. So in theory, it sounds great. Oh, you stay on campus, you learn da da da. But then the rooms are like when the school first started. So it
Mm.
throws you off because you go visit your friends at IU. They stay in this luxurious BET type of crib, MTV crib style. You like, oh, you got a new refrigerator, a new, you got a microwave in here too. And then you go to Notre Dame and you gotta buy a microwave. And then you got a jerry rig it where you set it up where it's under the refrigerator because it's like camping. You camping because it's an experience. So then that's why you can't have no private eye chef, no 5-star chef, because they're gonna be like, wait a minute, I'm eating out the microwave in the George Foreman. And I gotta have the window open so the fire alarm don't go off. That's in 2023. But you go to IU down the street, man, they got a what do you call it? The barbecue cookers built in, air fryer built in the wall or something in their little apartment. So it's just like it just throws it off.
So look, man, this man, the conversation went left literally because we were talking about one thing and then, but it really is like we get it.
We get it though.
The fan base is bought in to the tradition. It makes us different. It's not just about football. And dude, there's not one
We
play. Let
get
me
it.
wait. Left. Let me tell you something. If you had
That's what makes it so funny. It's like I get it though. They really live.
would you wait a minute? Was that going to change? Having better facilities that are just on par with the bigger programs, would that have some way discouraged you from going to class?
No.
Would that have made you feel that you were better than the other students at Notre Dame?
It's just
I
Notre
just
Dame's
want to make sure because you still would have gotten your degree, right? You
still
still
got
would have ended up a really good guy, right?
yeah, them bigger hot tubs don't change that.
That's
It
that's
does.
all I'm saying, man. That's all I'm
It
saying.
would make you feel a little different. I think that's what Notre Dame does a really good job of, not making you feel special at a special place.
It's like, man, we
You're
we
not
got
gonna
we have the
feel
one. This is the one way we can make sure that they're good men, good students, and good football players.
by holding on to the money and spending it frugal. What to say? Non-frivolously, very frugal with the money.
No,
You're
good
not a good steward by
stewardship.
holding
Good
on to the money.
stewardship.
I knew it was bad when the championship was third on the list. You talking about stuff non-football related coming before a championship, talking about a football program. Intangible stuff you can't even quantify. The thing you can quantify as actual goal is third on the list. So that means you're dealing in fantasy land before you can even get to a championship. That makes you non-serious as a football program. If winning the championship is 3 behind 2 fantasy, good moral principle aspects of life, you got philosophical, deep morale, religious beliefs and stuff that's 1 and 2. And then 3 is a championship. Yeah, you're not
But this
serious.
is the kicker. This is the
You're not
kicker.
serious.
This would be great. You want tradition? You want to celebrate tradition? How about making ticket prices the same as they were the last time you won a national championship? How about that?
Oh, they can't do that.
For
Oh, they can't.
2023, make the average ticket price the same as they were in
And it was
1988.
88.
Let's
Yep.
stick to tradition.
It was 88.
It worked in 88. Maybe it will work now. Because obviously you have no problem. You have no problem escalating prices along with inflation.
That is the only thing that's changed at Notre Dame.
But everything else is tradition.
The dorm paint.
We have to stick to tradition.
That's right.
Well, be traditional and lower the ticket prices to the last time we won a national championship.
Traditional
That's a great tradition. That's a great tradition. Start that tradition. How about that?
Bookstore.
Shaun, that's not logical. That doesn't make
sense.
Yeah,
that's not logical. Yeah, it ain't logical.
The cost of running a program and the cost of the school has increased. So has college football and battling the best of the best. Things have changed.
We battle the best prices. We look to go higher. Oh yeah, we can charge a jersey for $100 more this year. See, it's gotten exposed in 2023.
Come on, man. What are we talking about, dude?
Because the money out there, social media out there. So you can't be accepting these big $1 billion TV contracts and hush hush no more. You're gonna have Pete Sampson on it, Eric Hansen on it. Soon as you ink the deal, $100 million. Notre Dame signed with Nike or something. So when everybody sees you making crazy lump sums of money all the time, and then you do this stuff you do in the Marcus Freeman in the back end, people are going to be like, you know what? Y'all playing yourselves. And it's a stain it's hard to get rid of because you can only try to make up for it with excuses, and you can't. People putting the math together like, wait a minute, you about to make $500 million from this apparel deal. You make $1 million every home game from the bookstore, probably $1 million off of the tickets, and then you about to make a big quadrillion from this TV deal that's just for you. It ain't the Big Ten deal people joining. That's the potluck. You get your own separate bag over here for a cajillion dollars. And then we look on, the fan base is excited because we got the money to do everything to win a championship. And then we cut on ESPN. We can't pay $2.8 million. I just donated that last week.
Hey, but look, I'm not talking about that no more. I'm done. Look, we're not talking about that. We right here, this topic is enough. We can stick to this. D-Rock Irish Googled it. The total cost for the entire 1988 season with 7 home games was $147. There you go. There you go.
Traditional prices.
Tweet that out today. Tweet that out.
Yeah.
Holding fast to our tradition of winning championships, we're rolling back ticket prices to $147 for the season. Roll that back. Stick to that tradition. See, because it's cool for you to move along with life and the economy. But when it comes to recruiting in the college football world, no, we got to stick to our traditions. Come on, man. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing?
Mm.
Lucky Lefty Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify,
What are we doing? That's the
CFB
question.
Nation,
What are
in
we?
conjunction with Irish Breakdown, all of our great content. This is indeed the home of the misguided passion.
Do you even think?
We spin it different.
Do you even think that we could change that? I don't think we've ever been known to.
To change what?
Well, that's a lie.
Dude, wait a minute. It was a big deal when they put the Jumbotron in the stadium, dude. Like, it was a huge deal. Like, oh my God, we got a Jumbotron in the stadium. That's been par for the course for like 20 years.
Yeah, and we were selling patches of the grass when we got turf. I was there
Right.
for that.
That's like me buying my daughter a pair of Jabos today.
Mm.
Like, man, baby, these are hot.
I just think it proves that when it comes to getting this bread, Notre Dame is definitely expert in the business category, where nothing else comes before that green, that real green. Not the green of the Irish, but the green of that dollar. Jesus collects a lot of money at Notre Dame. That's where it go.
Wasn't the Jumbotron against tradition?
Yeah, it's Jesus' cash app that's racking up them dollars every year. That's where the money go. To Jesus. Because it don't go to nowhere else. And it doesn't make sense because what are we trying to get out of this? Is it to rack up as much money as possible? Because that's what it feels like. Because if that's the case,
John Massey said roll that tuition back also. That's definitely not happening.
oh yeah.
That's definitely not happening.
Yeah, we asking for way too much now. We getting into topics that they wouldn't even listen to. They be like, what?
Man.
Cut back on what? All we know is increase. So I'm telling you, this is it's an interesting position as a head coach to be in. Because you got to toe the line between how do I win on a budget, but portray myself as the money man. That's hard to do. We supposed to front like we got it. But we really don't got it.
Man. You already know what it is. It's Friday. About to bring our boy on with us to close out the show. Left. I just want to end it with this before we get to our guy, man. I don't care what you do in life. Your word, your brand, your integrity. They need to match up. They need to match up. You can put the bells and whistles on. You can buy a building for your business. You can do a lot of things, man. You can have all the best clothes. You can dress it up however you want to, bro. Eventually, it comes down to your word and your integrity. That's it. And they need to line up. And all I'm saying is there are some things that aren't lining up. Lucky Lefty Podcast. Friday, for the Culture Friday, each and every Friday, we have our partners over at Rock Financial for all your business needs. Anything that you can think of, you need to go link up with Rock Financial right now. ROK dot biz, and our boy Tony Samino from Rock Financial joins us today. What's up, Ryan?
That's everything, Shaun. Thank you
Man,
for that intro. Yeah. This is I just wanted to hop on here real quick. Pleasure. Thank you for having me on real quick. I just wanted to get things rocking for Tony. He's rolling in a few minutes, but absolutely pleasure to be on.
man, how's your week been?
Week is going crazy, man. I mean, business has been busy. Definitely, everything's lining up, and pleasure working with you guys, and a lot of big opportunities as we're moving forward here. So.
What's one of the best things that's trending right now when it comes to what you guys have been funding this week?
So honestly, it's a great question. I mean, so we're very flexible. We don't have any industry restrictions, but I'd say the most popular industries is we're seeing a lot of restaurant business, a ton of trucking, transportation, even cannabis. We're really everything is based off of the cash flow of the business essentially. So Tony's gonna hop on here. He wants to start talking about our line of credit, kind of integrate a little financial Friday for the Lucky Lefty podcast for you guys, and share some insight. So yeah, tons of ways that we can help out. But business is booming as always. So
Man, I love to hear business is booming. That's why we partner with guys that win in the business world, like Rock Financial. As I said before, go to ROK dot
yes, sir.
biz for all your business funding needs. So we talk about lines of credit,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure Tony's going to dig more into it. I remember when my parents did a deal for their business and they got a line of credit, and they were so scared to use their line of credit.
Yep.
I remember them saying, like, no, we don't want to touch that. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, do you know what you can actually do with that
Yeah,
to create more income and more revenue?
absolutely.
Just talk about that, different ways that you can use a line of credit that can benefit you.
That's a great point. And so when it comes to the line of credit product, um, it's think of it as basically, say whatever you get approved for. Say you get approved for $100,000 line of credit.
Yeah.
It's essentially sitting in a portal. You have access to that portal whenever you log in, and pretty much say you're approved for a 6-month term. Up to those 6 months, you're able to go into that, pull as much as you want, and you're only paying interest off of what you're taking out. So yeah, like you said, I mean, you can be very creative with how you utilize these funds, from payroll to paying for inventory, operating costs, you name it. So it's very flexible. And your brother man himself, Tony,
What's up, Tony?
What's going on? How we doing?
Man, wonderful, man. We were just talking to Ryan about lines of credit, and I just gave him the story, an example. I remember my parents, man, did a deal with the bank, and they ended up getting the loan, and they were given an additional line of credit.
Look at that.
And I used to ask them all the time, like, yo, like, why don't you guys use the line of credit? And they're like, oh, we don't want to touch it. I'm like, man, what is the fear of using the line of credit? And I was wondering, I was like, yo, do people actually not understand how they can use that to create revenue and create other opportunities? Because it just seemed like people that don't have the knowledge really think that that's a bad thing. Like, oh, they're giving us that to kind of put us in a trick bag and get us to be more in debt. It's like,
Well,
all right,
that's the traditional thinking, right? Like,
yeah.
traditional thinking tells you debt's a bad thing. I'm not going to say I'm going to go to war with Dave Ramsey, right? But he believes in living that debt-free kind of lifestyle, and it works for some, right? But I can assure you that, like, billionaires, they love debt. The businesses, they love debt.
Yeah.
Why? Because it allows you to do things that you probably weren't going to have access to or reach or really take advantage of, right? Like, when you start to think about a line of credit, like, one of the things that's like a kind of a misconception around it is, how do you use it? Kind of like you were just pointing out, right?
Yeah.
Well, the first thing to understand about a line of credit is, well, what am I trying to do? And is that what a line of credit actually is, right? So use of funds is probably the biggest thing that goes into a line of credit, right? If you're somebody that you need 200 grand right now, but you're not going to need any more money for the next 2 years, line of credit's not for you. You need a loan, right? So what a line of credit is for is it's got a lot of flexibility in it, right? So as you, just like a credit card, as you utilize that line, right, and you start making payments on it again, it becomes available to you again, right? So like the best businesses are the ones that are, or business owners are the ones that are like savvy enough to realize these gaps in their timing, right? Maybe you're a contractor and you're between jobs, you got to take another one on, you got to purchase materials, and guess what? It's Friday, you got to meet payroll, right? Maybe you can draw down on a line of credit, 20, 40 grand, float it for the next 3 to 5 weeks. And think about it. If you pay 3 to 5 weeks of interest on anything, it's not going to be very much, right? But what starts to happen with a line of credit is it does compound. So you have to be careful because it can become costly. Like you're better off taking a term loan if you believe that it's going to take you longer than like 6 or 12 months to pay that line off. You're better off taking a term loan. There's cheaper cost options out there for you if that's the biggest thing, right? But if you need that flexibility of, hey, I'm going to draw on it, I'll pay some back, I might need to draw a little bit more before I pay it all back, I might keep a little bit of a balance, then you're the perfect candidate, right? And that's where really understanding what you're doing with the money kind of backs you into whatever product you're going to go get anyway. Like you mentioned, your parents had access to both. That's the best of both worlds right there. That's what we call the best of both worlds, because at the end of the day, that creates an immense amount of flexibility and comfort, right? And the way things work right now is if you're going to get a line of credit, you're going to qualify for it. It's not necessarily something they're looking to just add on to every loan these days. It's more like, hey, you're going to get offered one or the other. We have seen it somewhere like if you're getting a piece of equipment, you might get like an equipment loan or like an equipment lease or something, and then a line of credit or a term loan to go along, like cash to go alongside with like equipment. And like that's where we're kind of seeing some things side by side. There are some times where you can add a line of credit on. I'm not going to say there's not, but I wouldn't count on it. I wouldn't put all my eggs in that basket, because at the end of the day, what you want to know is the facts, right? Like you just want to be able to make decisions with the facts. So like I said, I wouldn't count on it. If you're somebody that's like, hey, how do I utilize a line of credit, or what does that kind of look like? But what's great about it is the fact that kind of there's so many different ways that you can use the funding, right? Like when I walked in, I heard Ryan starting to say, like, you can purchase inventory, you can use it for payroll, you can purchase a piece of equipment, there's all sorts of different uses for that funding, right? And what makes that unique is business owners are dangerous, right? Like if you give a business owner, if you ask anybody, they think they could be dangerous with $10,000 in their hands. But when you ask a business owner, they might turn that 10 grand into $1 million. Somebody else, they're going to go out and buy something with it. A business owner, they're going to invest it. Like that's the difference, right? And like one of the things that you'll hear from time to time is somebody say like, hey, how dangerous can you be with an extra 50 to 100 grand in your business, right? Like, that's something that only they really know. They know the opportunities that they have. They know the challenges that they face. And there is funding available. That's the main thing is, lines of credit have come a long way. You can be a business owner right now that, you've been around for 6 months, you got a 620 credit score. You can go get a line of credit as long as you got a little bit of cash in your business and you're seeing some money going through those business checking accounts. So, it really is a different landscape than it's been in the past where like, hey, all these guidelines are so tight. I'm not going to tell you that guidelines haven't tightened. They have recently a little bit, but we're still at a point where plenty of businesses are qualifying and they're using this funding, right? Like, there is economic factors going on out there, whether it's, hey, it's tax season, right? Some people are just looking to pay taxes. They have tax liabilities from last year. There's certain seasons that are starting right now. Like we're starting to make this spring, summer transition over the next few months. I mean, shoot, we don't have to go into the football season, but we know we're getting ready for spring ball. You know what I mean? We're going back outside. We love that. You know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of the evolution of business as well. You start to think about landscaping businesses and pool companies and, you know, restaurants that have outdoor seating. Like, all of this stuff is what starts to come back. And, you know, there's startup costs behind it. There's maintenance things that come up. So, you know, a line of credit, I always say what the best thing you should know is that flexibility.
It's something you mentioned, and we talked pretty much this full show about tradition, right? And how long do you stick to tradition to where you realize, like, man, it's starting to put us at a deficit.
The detriment.
Holding fast to tradition. And that's a question we asked the fan base with Notre Dame football. Like, how long do you hold fast to tradition and only to realize, like, yo, we're behind in this thing that we call the college football landscape. From a business standpoint, I told you about the traditional example of my parents. Like, you know, what do you say to business owners that have been in business for a long time that might be leery of leaving their traditional way of thinking and financial investment or reinvesting into the business or just expanding? What ideology would you give to them to say, this is why you need to take the chance? And, you know, I always tell people, get out of the boat. You can't walk on water unless you get out the boat. That's if you want to walk on water, you have to jump out the boat. Like, how do you get people to get out of the boat so they can walk on water and create miracles in their lives and in their business?
I love that. And I love that you point out tradition because, you know, tradition is so important, right? Like, I'm Italian, so like I don't think I have to go much further than that, right? Like, right. I remember growing up, my grandma, everything was Italian. Her doctor was Italian. Her hairdresser was Italian. Everything was Italian. The clothes she wore, right? Like you said, though, it starts to become, I don't want to say a detriment, but I'm more of who I am today because of all of the influence that I've had, right? And all of the types of people that I've met. You know, I was in Costa Rica earlier this month, you know, and experiencing that culture. And, you know, like, that is so, like, to me, is so much more valuable than, you know, any tradition ever could be. Not that I don't love pasta, right? Like, I am the biggest pizza fan, right? We had the pizza discussion last week. I won't go too far, but, you know, when you start to think about that tradition, you know, it is a simple question of, you know, we call it in funding is doing nothing an option. And it's not really doing nothing. It's doing the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, you know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again and expecting a different result. If you are trying to grow, if you are trying to solve a challenge, well, then I challenge you to get up out your comfort zone and start to think about something a little bit different. And that's all that I'm asking for is you to think about it differently, because I'm in alternative funding, right? So, like, I am already different than the tradition, right? So I'm already asking you to think differently. And if we've gotten to that point, I know you're the type of person that we can, if it makes sense and dollars make sense, then great. And if it doesn't, you'll hear that from us too. And that's kind of what's powerful about us is we're going to take you to market and say, okay, hey, this is what's available and you probably should hold off, you know, or hey, listen, take advantage of it because, you know, you're getting a great deal here, you know, and it might not be here in a couple months, right? Like, you know, you don't know what changes.
So once again, we have on with us Ryan Bowman and Tony Semino from Rock Financial. Once again, for all your business needs, you need to go rock out with Rock Financial. That is ROK.biz. All right, what's your tip? What's your tip of the week? Yeah, what's your big tip of the week for all of our business owners?
My tip is actually around motivation. We got a chance to listen to a sales guy, which is what we do, right? We're selling financing. I'm not going to hide it. We're a sales organization, right? And sales is a mindset game. We hear a lot of rejection. You know, it's not quite like a completion percentage. It's more like a batting average, the yeses that we get, right? So when you take a lot of no's, that can really weigh on you mentally. So we put a lot of focus on the mental and really, you know, kind of honing in on that. And I heard some really great stuff. And I really just kind of want to shout out his tagline. The gentleman's name is Drew B. Wilson. Drewby Wilson, and he's awesome. He's got about 10,000 followers on Instagram, so he's not the biggest influencer in the world. But when it comes to getting after it, this guy understands that, man. He's one of those guys. He's up every day, 4 a.m. He's got his whole schedule built out, and he starts every single day with what I thought was the most powerful thing: gratitude. He jumps right into a little bit of meditation. He writes down what he's thankful for. And I haven't quite adopted that part of things yet, but it's got my wheels turning. And, I think the first thing that we got to be is grateful for the opportunity that we have, grateful for the, ability to even talk about financing, right? Yeah. So that's kind of my message today, is just around your mindset. And I know, I don't want to say we're wearing the winter blues here in the Northeast, but we're certainly ready for the change of weather and start to, kind of come up out the winter here. And, it's tough on people. I know that there's a lot of, businesses that have struggled through the pandemic, through these, the economic changes that have taken place over the last 12 to 15 months, in terms of, you're starting to see the turn of, industries here where, you're seeing automation in trucking and transportation, where you're starting to see Domino's deliver pizzas automatically. Like, that changes everything if you start changing things like that. So you're starting to see some wild things go on. I think people are getting a little uncomfortable, but I think that's a good place for us to be as a society, because that's where growth happens. We're going to have to grow from it, and that's the ultimate success on the other side, is knowing, hey, as long as I can make it through, I've made it through, that's enough for me. So I appreciate you giving us our time here. Like I said, if you're going to look at a line of credit, I appreciate Ryan jumping on. I was a couple minutes late there, but if you're going to look at a line of credit, know that the reason you're looking at it is because you need flexibility in the funding. Stability and flexibility are both great things if utilized the right way, right? So think about what you really need and how you're looking to utilize the funding. That's the best piece of advice I can give behind the line of credit. But as far as life goes and mindset goes, make sure you're grateful, because some people didn't wake up today, and that's the ultimate thing, right? So if you are working on business, if you are working on just as an employee, it doesn't really matter. If you're like us and you get to do things like this for a living and live your dream, that's even better, right? But just know that each day you got to take a step forward.
Once again, Ryan and Tony,
Thank you
Financial, ROK.biz for all your business needs. These are the guys that you need to rock out with. The link is in the description of this video. Rock out with Rock Financial. Guys, we'll see you next Friday for some more tips. We appreciate you. I'm going to hit you up, man, because I had a great conversation with somebody this week about credit card versus debit card. I want to get your feedback on this one.
I love it. Let's talk.
All right, Tony. Thank you. You guys have a great weekend. Have a good one, Ryan.
Thanks for having us, Shaun. Have a good one.
Thanks, Shaun.
All right. Once again, Tony Samino, Ryan Bowman from Rock Financial, our partners right here on the Lucky Lefty podcast. They're going to come on each and every Friday for about 5 to 10 minutes to talk finances. Once again, ROK.biz. Look, let me address something. I want to find the comment, because this was troubling to me. Okay, here it is. As we get ready, Luck had to go out. He had an interview to get to. Jim Doyle, thank you for tapping in, Jim. Listening to the show today. Very negative today, bro. Do a show on positives. Great young men who don't make it to the NFL have successful careers and life outside of football. I would agree with that. And the fact that you think upgrading facilities for the athletes is negative says a lot about what you think about the athletes. So I think you're the one being negative. Because all we did was point out the positives of the brand. They got a retired coach to get off of his couch in his man cave and bring his entire family down to South Bend. We objectively asked the fan base whether or not what has happened has lessened or made the positions at Notre Dame look less desirable? And that was a resounding yes from the fan base in the chat room. That wasn't us. We asked the question. The people said yes. I'm sorry to let you know this. A kid from the south side of Chicago whose family is very successful from an educational standpoint and in business, that started on the west side of Chicago. Notre Dame does not have a monopoly on great young men in this country. Maybe that's the way you feel, but Notre Dame is not the only university that produces great young men. I happen to be friends with great young men that were football players at the University of Illinois. Great young men that were basketball players at the University of Illinois, running their own businesses in Atlanta. Big time executives at the Big Ten Network, calling games each week for the Big Ten and Fox Sports, running movie studios after having Hall of Fame careers at the University of Illinois. These young men. Notre Dame doesn't have a monopoly on creating young men. So you can miss me with that. There's more than one way to raise a child. There's more than one way to create young men that are balanced in education, in football. And just because Notre Dame does it one way, it doesn't mean it's the only way. Because there are other universities doing it as well. The problem is you don't want to admit that Notre Dame's falling behind, sticking to their traditions. So you stick to your tradition. I choose to be positive and say that our players deserve better, positively. Our athletes, women's basketball, women's lacrosse, men's lacrosse, hockey, fencing, you name it, they deserve better. But you stick to the script. You go ahead and stick to the script. This is the most positive Notre Dame show you have. We always raise the flag and wave the flag for Notre Dame. Don't be mad at us because we're objective enough to challenge certain things that might be happening. That's called being an adult. That's what most adults do. They objectively look at situations. They take comments from both sides of the coin. Look at them. I don't block anybody that I disagree with. And that wasn't meant for anybody. So I don't need anybody saying that was meant for anybody. Everyone's free to have their own opinion on the Lucky Lefty podcast because everyone's opinion has value. So although I agree with certain sentiments of your opinion, I'm not about to allow your opinion to pigeonhole what we did here today as being negative. Because there was nothing negative about what we said here today. We just want better. We want better because they deserve better. Lucky Lefty podcast. Great show today, guys. Thank you for making the Culture Friday what it was. You know what time it is.
Petticoat, petticoat, petticoat junction.
It's time to get petty.
Oh, we did a good job executing.
Are you upset with something?
And fire up the Petticoat Junction train.
I just don't like you.
You don't?
No.
What is today's petty historic? Petty Junction.
Petty Junction, Petty Story of the Day, brought to you by Onora Whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. That premium American whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. Oh, man. Guys, bear with me. Just bear with me. I don't know how to feel about this Brandon Miller situation. And I kind of saved it. And also throw Jalen Rose in the train. I saved it specifically for the Culture Friday because it was about hair care for men and him saying the average haircut for a man should be $100. Jalen, shut up. Shut up. Just shut up, man. And I fully support barbers getting paid their value. I have no problem, right? My budget is probably about 250 a month, 250 to 300 a month. Haircut, shave, everything, products, probably 250 to 300 a month. So I'm all for paying people what they're worth. But come on, man. The way, we're a little extra with it. Because I've seen some darn good $15, $20 haircuts. I had some darn good $15, $20 haircuts back in college. Man, believe that. But this Brandon Miller thing, who is right now probably number 2 prospect in the 2023 NBA draft, freshman wing player, 6'8", 6'9". He's phenomenal. He just dropped 41 on South Carolina on Monday night in overtime. He's a phenomenal player, man. And as you know, he's mixed up in the unfortunate homicide of 2 people where his gun was used. According to the authorities, he had no idea what his teammate was about to do. And he's pretty much been removed as a possible suspect in the case. And as so, he's been allowed to play. And a lot of people are upset about it. And I just think at this point, things are going to get really difficult as we go into the SEC tournament and you go to the NCAA tournament. My prayers go out to the young man, not absolving him of what transpired. And I'm sure as they continue to look into the case, if he's connected, I'm sure the authorities will handle it accordingly. But it's about to get tough for him. It really is. Because I know people are going, man, other fan bases and chants are about to really, hit a fever pitch. I don't know. My personal opinion, I would have loved to see him come back and play after things have settled down, but legally there was no reason for him not to play. So it can go either way, but the AD was on ESPN and did an absolutely horrible job of explaining the situation. Just a horrible job of explaining the situation. Nate Oates, Petty Train, my man, for your comments before the game on Monday and then having to come back and walk your statements back, which I appreciate you doing that and standing up and admitting, that you were wrong to do so. It's just like the people administration things have been mishandled. Moving forward, I hope you handle the situation and the young man better because he's more than just a cash cow and the best player on your team that has a chance to get to the Final Four. He's a human being that was unfortunately wrapped up into a situation that included 2 other beautiful human beings losing their life. and that's unfortunate. So not only does he have to deal with himself, he has to deal with being connected to that incident for the rest of his life. And I don't care what anybody says, no amount of money, if you're a good person, if you're a human being, there's no amount of money that's going to fill that hole. He probably needs to go talk to professionals to make sure that he's okay. And I hope that he gets that professional help as he moves on. Lucky Lefty Podcast. Hey, we love you guys, man. I think I'll be on Irish Breakdown on the RTCF show with Brian Driscoll tomorrow. Have a great Friday. Continue to lock in. I know the dead period is tough, man. It's tough. It's this dead period. We'll get through it. We'll get a new coach. Start locking in on these recruits. And spring practice is just 3 weeks away, man. Just 3 more weeks. We get the pro day, spring practice. Love you guys so much. Tell the people that you love the most, that you love them this weekend, and hold them tight. It's the Lucky Lefty Podcast. For Left, I'm Shaun Davis. We'll see you guys Monday for another edition of the Lucky Lefty Podcast. Have a great weekend. But most of all, man, you guys make sure that you, without a doubt, spin it different.